words of Maya Angelou, when you learn, teach, and when you get, give. Welcome to Conversations with Verdel Jones. I'm your host, Verdel Jones. Being an educator at heart, I'm dedicated to sharing conversations that inform and enlighten in the hopes that you learn something you may not have known. I have a co-host with me today, and we're going to introduce her in a second. But remember, in the words of, did I say that already? In the words of Maya Angelou? Okay, so in the words of Maya Angelou, when you get, give, when you learn, teach, and when you get, give. We have a great show planned. It's not really planned, but we're going to have a great show anyway. To see past shows, Conversations with Verdel Jones shows, you can go to my Deli Teach YouTube channel, and that's DELITEACH, and be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can get all of the latest episodes of Conversations with Verdel Jones. You can also follow me on Twitter at DeliTeach, DELITEACH. And I also want to take the time out to thank our sponsor, Miss Nancy Vargas Jones. Nancy Vargas Jones is an expert realtor. She does an outstanding job working with individuals to either sell their home or buy a home. I always like to share a personal story about Nancy. My dad had to sell his father's home. He had passed away. And you know, with estate sales, it can be very trying and emotional. And Nancy Vargas Jones was the perfect person to help my dad sell my grandfather's home. So if you're looking for a home or you're interested in selling your home, make sure that you contact Nancy. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a little bit today about college. Everyone knows that, you know, I talk about college all the time, and I'm an educator. So we're going to talk a little bit about college, but first I want to show you guys, you know that I'm the author of The Parent Agent, How to Represent Your Child and Get Them into the College of Their Choice. So I want to share a little bit about that book right now.
How do I get my child into the best college? Why is early planning imperative in the college process? In her new book, The Parent Agent, Verdel Jones answers these questions and more. What does it mean to be a parent agent? As a parent agent, you represent your child to help them get into the college of their choice. Strategies learned in this book will help you create opportunities for your child that will develop them into successful individuals. Verdel Jones is an experienced educator with over 20 years experience. She has personally visited hundreds of college campuses and holds extensive knowledge about the higher education selection process and has helped hundreds of students. She has also successfully been a parent agent for her own children. In her new book, The Parent Agent, you will be given concrete information on how to visit colleges, learn why knowing your child is critical in finding the right college, understand why starting early can make all the difference in keeping your child on track for higher education, gain an understanding of the financial aid process, and discover steps needed to financially plan for college expenses. You will also receive useful resources and checklists to keep you organized and focused. All of this information and more is contained in Verdel Jones's new book, The Parent Agent. So let this book be your guide through the college process to get to the end goal, your child enrolling into the college of their choice. To get your copy of The Parent Agent, go to deliteach.com and order your book today.
So that was a little information about The Parent Agent, how to represent your child and get them into their college of their choice. I'm an educator, as I stated, and I'm a counselor by trade, and also I was a business teacher as well, but now I am the director of guidance for a school district. So I have that professional experience, and I also have the personal experience. So at this time, I'm going to introduce my daughter, Maya Jones. Thank you. Thank you, Maya, for coming and participating today. We had a show plan, or I had a show plan that we were going to talk about educating Black males and you know, what teachers and what school districts and what people can do to kind of combat some of the issues that we see within, you know, our Black males and educating them, because the statistics for that are kind of alarming. I remember I had a conversation with Dr. Shango Blake, you know Dr. Blake, and
Blizzy.
Dr. Blizzy. So Dr. Blake, he was on my show a few months ago. It was a while back, and it was actually maybe around this time last year, and he was talking about how from birth to third grade, black males are the first to master language and show genius in a lot of different areas. But by the time they're in third grade, something happens, and there's a shift. And what he was kind of explaining is that students after third grade, or black males, they kind of are in an environment that's unnatural for them to learn. So that's one of the things that he was talking about, and that's what we were going to talk about today. So we're going to take a little shift because I think it's important, because one of the things that when you're talking about education at the basic level, you're going to eventually go to college, or that's the goal, or some kind of secondary, post the next level. Exactly. So I think it's a nice segue to kind of talk a little bit about those steps and the next level. So Maya, just tell everybody a little bit about your journey, your educational journey, where you are now and where you like to go.
Well, right now I am a journalism major at Temple University. I've always been a hardworking student, pulling all-nighters since I can remember, since middle school. And I've always been happy to learn, and I've always loved to learn and things like that. And now I am about to be a senior at Temple University, and I'm a journalism major. And I think that having some kind of next level education is definitely important, because it's something good to have in your back pocket for sure, because when you go out into the real world, people are going to want to know what can you do. And if you have that degree, if you have that trade, that training and everything like that, I think that says a lot about your work ethic and what you did to get that diploma or to get that trade training. So.
Right. Now, when you said you pulled all-nighters, right, I remember this. I remember Maya used to,
Jesus.
She would be up all night, doing her work and really, really having, like she said, she wanted to learn. So one of the things that I talk about in the parent agent is kind of getting to know your child and what their traits are. So for Maya, I knew that she was that type of student, that she didn't mind, spending all night doing her homework. I haven't
through my AP Euro book, going through my math book, just all that stuff.
Right, and we have another child, Marcus, and he's a good. Okay, so he's not the type of student that would actually stay up all night and do homework, but yet he still was able to achieve a level of success in high school. And I don't know if that has anything to do about the previous conversation about the unnatural learning environment. So if he maybe would have applied himself more, he would have been an even better student. But I think, he was the kind of student that needed that. Like that, or more like there's learning styles. So he was a kinesthetic kind of learner and tactile. So he needed to be moving. He needed to be, using manipulatives and things like that. Where
playing games,
right? Where Maya, I think you were more like a auditory learner or like a visual, like reading and things like that, and you were able to absorb that information. Yeah. So I think the learning styles really have to do with how your child is going to develop in school, but knowing what their learning style is so they can learn best. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Yeah, so those all-nighters were appropriate for you, but they might not have been appropriate, or they weren't appropriate for your brother, So just talk a little bit about, it's the summertime, students are getting ready to go back to school. That's coming up really, really quick.
Don't get too excited about it.
But the thing is, students have already selected what courses they want to take. I want you to speak a little bit about the courses that you decided to take in high school. Again, this is preparation for college that really prepared you for your college experience. I mean, the all-nighters was an example, but what else can you say?
Well, I can definitely say that the AP courses that I took probably over-prepared me for college, because I remember the first AP I took was in 10th grade, and that was probably one of the hardest classes I've ever taken in life. So it was constant reading material, packets, 100 pages a day, writing in flashcards. It was a lot of work.
Right.
And then I got to college, and I was like, oh.
Right.
Okay. well, this isn't that bad. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it definitely over-prepared me. And it definitely made me, instilled that work ethic that, you know, I gotta stay on top of this, I gotta stay on top of this. It set that work ethic for me.
Right.
Early on.
So
I do appreciate the AP classes for that.
You know, so we talked about you know, the academics. So like I said, students are preparing to take their classes. They've already probably selected their courses, but now they have to actually, you know, they have to do them. They have to perform in those classes. That's one piece of getting ready for college, you know, and as I said, one of the things I love or I stress a lot is knowing your child and how they will be, you know, and how to prepare them for college. What are some other things that you were able to do to, you know, in high school to prepare you and that you can share with parents who may have students that are, you know, that are in high school right now?
Well, I would definitely encourage your child to get involved for sure. Like, I remember I was involved in a newspaper, and I'm a journalism major. So being in the newspaper in my high school definitely prepped me for doing interviews outside high school. So I would do sports, I would interview different teachers, I would interview mainly sports, but I would go up. It got me into the groove of interviewing people, going up to people, asking them questions, figuring out which questions to ask. So it kind of prepared me. It built up my interview skills, it built up my journalism skills, so that way when I went into college, I would be able to just bust it out.
Right. You know what? You said mostly sports. And so funny because we had Erica Collins on the show, and she was talking about she was a journalist, right? A journalist, and she was always reporting sports. Why is it that, and there was somebody else, I can't remember who it was, but there was another woman, we were talking about it, it was a, you know, an African-American woman, and she was talking about sports. Is there, do you know why there's a gravitation toward covering sports for, you know, a lot of black women start, you know, covering sports?
I don't know. I don't really know necessarily, well, if I'm being honest for myself, I would say that
it was about the athletes.
Yeah. Like mainly in high school. Like I was like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. Oh, I get a chance to talk to them. Like, oh my gosh. That was probably part of it maybe. I don't know if it's just black women in general, but whatever.
That was your ulterior motive.
Somewhat. I'm not gonna lie. But I'm not really sure what other reasons are the correlations for that.
Yeah, it's just interesting.
And it's also like with sports, I remember it was kind of easy for me, like to like report on the sports, because a lot of the times sports stories are the same stories, like in the games and things like that. Like, this team got this points, this person scored this many points. It was very straightforward.
Right. There was no commentary. Well, as a journalist, you're not supposed to put commentary in your writing unless it's opinion. Right?
And it also depends on the publication that you're at.
Okay.
The stories that I was writing was like straight, like, you know, news.
Okay.
Get the comments, get the stats, bust the story out.
Right.
So unless you're depending on which publication you go to, you know, sometimes they allow you to have more freedom in your writing. So, yeah.
And also, I'd like you to share your experience in high school, because we talked about, you said you were getting involved. You did, you ran track,
ICTIS club.
You were in ICTIS, you were in AASO, African American Student Union, you were in, you were volleyball, that was a major, a big thing that you also did, but you also did an internship in high school, which I think is amazing, and you did 2 internships. You did one with the town of Babylon, but I really want you to talk about the one you did in your senior year.
Well, this was really like my first real major internship. It was at a newspaper called The Long Islander, and it was through a class it was a new class at the time. We were the first class to do it. It was through a class called Senior Experience, and it combined social studies and English, and there was also an internship component. So we would have the last 3 periods of the day to either sit in class for the 2 periods to learn our English and social studies, or we would go to our internship. And when I first heard about the class, I was like, I have to take this. Because it was like, an internship in high school? Like, what? I have to do this. So I was very set on doing it, because if I have an internship already in my senior year and I'm already ahead of the game, most people don't get internships until like their junior year or senior year of like college. So I was like, and it definitely, like I said again with the newspaper at my high school, it definitely gave me that experience, that exposure to
Right.
what being a journalist was really like. So
Right.
that was definitely a good thing to have.
And what I liked about the internship that you did, it was real. Like,
Oh, it was really real. They had us writing articles, like
Right.
send us out to the field, like
right.
like we were reporters.
Like you were reporting. So that was really cool. The other piece that I really want to talk about in reference to the internship, that parents should definitely encourage their students to do, is advocate for themselves. And I want you to share. And you and this is, I think it's a learned thing. I think as parents we need to at certain points give our children the like lay off, what's the word, you want to give them responsibility. You don't want to hover, you don't want to be those helicopter parents. But one of the things that you want to try to do is let them go out on their own and experience things, because that develops a sense of responsibility and advocacy for themselves. So share that story, because I think this was when I said, okay, this girl she's going to be all right.
You're talking about the entry into the senior experience?
Yes.
Okay, well, I will admit, at first, I did not get into the class, because in order to get into senior experience, you had to submit an essay and you had to do an interview.
Right.
And I'll admit that I did not get in at first because of the interview. And it was something that I was kind of surprised by, to be honest.
Right.
Because during the interview, it was a group interview, and during the interview, I had dropped my phone. My phone was in my lap, and they thought that I was texting. And I have kind of a stiff face. I don't make too many expressions, so I could sometimes look like I'm either uninterested or tired. So they read me dropping the phone in my face as, oh, she's not really interested. And when I found out that I didn't get into the class, I was surprised. I was like, my essay was like, I'm a good writer. Like, what's going on? And then I didn't think the interview was that bad. And then I went to Ms. Gross.
She went to the director of guidance at her
and
school.
And I told her, like, I don't understand. Why didn't I get in? I really want to be in this program. And I showed a lot of passion, and like I showed that this was something I really, really, really wanted to do. And Ms. Gross, she saw it. She was like, oh, okay. I guess she really does want to do this.
Yeah.
And then I was admitted into the class because I advocated for myself.
Right, absolutely. I love that story. I'm all about, self-advocation, because, your dad always says, closed mouths don't get fed, which is so true. And what I've noticed as Maya has, grown up, is that she kind of embodies that, and she does that even more than me. She will speak up and really advocate herself very, very strongly when she really, wants something or knows there's an injustice there. So I'm proud of her for that. She really does do a good job at that. So the internship really, in getting to know your child, again, as I state in the parent agent, make sure you pick that book up.
Pick it up.
Getting to know your child, that's one of the things that we try to do with both Marcus and Maya. We tried to make sure that we nurtured their interests. So if she was interested in writing, so we put her in writing programs. Marcus was interested in film, so we put him in some film programs. We tried to nurture whatever their interests were. They were in acting classes because they were interested in that. So we really tried to find what their niche was and really kind of, make sure that they were successful in that by giving them the opportunity. And that's kind of the reason for the parent agent. It's like a sports agent. A sports agent gives a sports agent gives their athletes opportunities, or they show them opportunities and they advocate for them for those opportunities. Then it's the athlete's responsibility to carry it out. As parents, it's the same kind of thing. We're the parent agent. Maya wasn't looking for all these opportunities. She wasn't on the internet and, making, because, she was going to school.
Now when
so,
I was younger, definitely not.
Right now it's totally different. But I think really what's nice is that you both saw what we did to try to find opportunities for you. So now as adults, you can do that as well, So talk a little bit about, we have people out there, we have parents out there that might have students that are getting ready to go to college, right? So this is going to be their freshman year in college in September. I remember when Marcus left to go to college, I I think I cried, I don't know, maybe a week. No, maybe not a week, but I was very upset. When
Yeah.
Maya left, I did cry for a week. Like, I was moping around. I was so upset. I'm like, what am I going to do? This is my last child going to school. She left me. I was so upset. Even when Marcus was in 12th grade, I mean, in his senior year of college, he went to California in the fall and then went to Boston, back up to Boston in the spring. So we drove him to Boston, in January, basically. And I cried when we dropped him off. And he was a senior in college. So, it's I just want to reassure parents out there that it does get better.
Oh my
and that you will kind of like, not having them around.
You'll get used to it.
You get used to it. You get used to it. So what I want you to do is talk about your experience as a freshman. So, because there, like I said, there's parents out there that might have students that are going to college in the fall for the first time. I gave my parent perspective. It does get better. They will call you only when they want money, and that's okay. I mean, Maya does a little bit better. Marcus, didn't hear from that guy. But share your experience and what can a freshman expect?
Well, you definitely have to know how to set your timing. And what I mean by that is you need to know when it's time to party or go out with your friends or go out to eat, and you need to know when it's time to settle down and study. Freshman year really wasn't that bad in terms of like classes, because if you do take a lot of gen eds, which in the beginning, which I recommend.
When you take a lot of what?
Gen eds.
General education courses?
And guidance educator terms. But
just in case,
But I definitely recommend taking those classes early on, because those are the easiest and those are the ones that you want to get knocked out as soon as possible.
Right.
But also freshman year, have fun. Definitely have fun. I mean, it's your freshman year. It's going to be the best year.
Right.
It only gets harder from there.
What do you regret about your freshman year that you didn't do?
I wish that I would have gotten involved earlier on, because like freshman year, I had my classes, but then I would go home afterwards and sleep for about 4 hours afterwards, because I like my sleep. But I wish that I would have gotten involved earlier on in different clubs, just so I would have gotten familiarized even earlier with the different organizations on campus. So.
Right. One of the things that we also discussed, and I think we talked about this maybe the beginning of, like when you came home for the summer.
What, the first year?
No, just in general.
Oh.
One of the things that, you might not say this, but I would say it, that developing, friends, you're going to meet friends in college, and sometimes I think it's easy to get like sucked into different cliques. And we had this conversation.
Yeah.
So sometimes you need to, and I would make this suggestion, you need to, just widen your social circle a little bit. So you're not as comfortable in one, and people do that in high school too, but.
That's definitely the thing I will say about, like, in terms of widening your circle. I think that I'm pretty grateful that you guys sent me to the high school that I went to for this reason, mainly because it was diverse and I was exposed to a lot of different people.
Right.
Black, white, Asian, Persian, Cameroon, like just people from all
Everywhere.
over, from different classes, different backgrounds.
Right.
And that ultimately determined me going to Temple, because it was a similar thing. And I think that being exposed to and exposing yourself to different people with different perspectives is healthy and refreshing, because that's the real world.
Right. It reminds me of the conversation we had a couple weeks ago, last month, with Gina Humber. Diversity is a verb, and she really talked about and expressed the importance of diversity in the workplace and schools and all of that.
Because that's the world.
That's the world.
That's the world we live in.
Right. And she gave a great suggestion about, because some people might not have, you might not go to a school or live in a community that's diverse. So one of the things that she recommended was go to different cultural events. And she had mentioned some of the cultural events that she attended, just so she can get an idea of what somebody else's, culture is.
Right. So you're not ignorant.
Right.
Because if you lock yourself into one particular group or one particular way of life, that's all you know, then you could come across as ignorant when you're exposed to the real world.
Right.
And that's not going to help you out.
Right, and you won't know. You just won't know.
Exactly.
Right, you just won't know.
You won't know.
And college, I think, offers a lot of opportunities for you to get that experience and experience different cultures, because there's so many different clubs out, there's all different clubs on college campuses. And every college that you go to, there's different clubs that are cultural based, that maybe you can go to their events, speak to the people that are in the club, just so, because you want to know, you want to be informed. It makes you a well-rounded individual when you experience different cultures. So,
I agree. Definitely.
So we talked about internships in high school. And we're going to talk about the social scene too. We talked about internships in high school, but internships in college. Speak a little bit about that.
Well, get as many as you can because they are important. Like I remember last summer, I was supposed to have an internship, and then thanks to some people who didn't know what they were doing, it fell through, and I was the whole summer stuck, not really doing too much.
Right.
And by the time you're in college, you're going to want to have a job, an internship, or something at least every summer. If you don't, what are you doing?
Right.
So I definitely think that as you move on to college, there's a stronger emphasis on getting an internship, especially if you haven't had one in high school or earlier on.
Right.
So in college, it becomes that more important to have an internship, I think.
So for now this is unique, because you were saying that a lot of times people don't get internships until their junior year, like either a rising senior or even a rising sophomore, second year student. You were fortunate enough to get an internship right after your freshman year in college. Explain about the process, what that process was like, and what you actually did.
Well, the internship that I had, it was at Time Inc. at Essence Magazine, and it was a great internship. And in order to get that internship, the submissions that you make, your resume has to be bomb. And your cover letter, whatever they want from you, whatever you need to send in, make sure the spell check is correct. Make sure you have everything that you need to have on there. Make sure you have certain words that appeal to the employers at that position that you're trying to go for, because they will take a look at that, and depending on, even if you have like a simple spelling error, they're going to throw that resume right out. Right,
because they have hundreds and hundreds.
Exactly.
I'm sure there were so many people that applied for an Essence Magazine, internship. One of the things that I thought was really great in experiencing that internship was, I kind of, went through it with her. I experienced it with her because it was exciting. It was really cool.
So
Maya's
awesome.
working for Essence Magazine. Essence Magazine is like it, And
it was an awesome internship.
She got to meet, celebrities. She got to write on just a lot of different topics. It was more editorial, I think, in nature.
Yes. It was an editorial internship.
Right. So it was a lot of, it was a great experience. And she got to go into Manhattan every day from Long Island and ride the subway and really, navigate that system, the subways and all that. So that I thought was pretty cool. Yeah.
And I will say that you definitely do want to try and shoot for those higher, like, internships at, big brands. You definitely want to shoot for that. Just the sky's the limit. Why not try out for those internships? But I will say that you do get a lot more experience working the internships at smaller publications. You do get more experience there.
Okay.
So don't be too upset if you don't get the job at ABC or whatever, and you get a job at, a local newspaper, because if you get that job, you're going to be most likely doing a lot of work and getting a lot of exposure that will ultimately prepare you for that job eventually at ABC, for wherever you want to go.
So now you currently, Maya, last summer, she didn't have an internship. This summer, she has an internship. Woo woo. Great internship. Where are you interning right now? Newsday. So Newsday is a local newspaper. All Long Islanders, of course, know Newsday. Boroughs folks that Newsday. But so, how has that experience been?
Oh, it's been awesome. They said to the interns in the beginning that they were going to work us. They were not playing.
Like the first day, I think she had to drive to New Hyde Park, which is about 40 minutes away.
About that.
And Maya had never been on the highway before like that.
Only once. Once.
we were going to take her. We didn't. So they were like, oh, Maya, you got to go to New High Park.
I was like,
So,
okay. I was like, at that point, I was just like, I have to do what I have to do.
Right.
This is the internship. This is the job. I will find a way. I will get over my fear of the highway. And now they send me all over the place.
yeah, I mean, she's been to, like, from
Flanders
to Nassau, to, I mean,
Hempstead.
everywhere. Hempstead, all over the island.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been a great experience because, you know,
Very
she
great.
shares, obviously, you know, what she's doing. And look for her feature in Sunday's papers, Newsday, Sunday's paper.
Yes, LA Life. Check it out.
LA Life, she's going to have a full...
It's online.
A full page, right? A full page.
More than
More
it was like 2 pages.
2 pages. So I'm excited. She's excited. It's a feature story. So we won't give the scoop. You have to get the paper.
Yeah, you have to get it to find out what it's about.
So we're really excited about that. Another thing, you know, I wanted to, before we you know, sign off, I wanted to talk about the social aspect of college. So parents out there may be worried about their children and the social scene in college because they're like, when you send your child off to college, you really have, I mean, you really, really, really have no idea what they're doing. I mean, 100%. You know, and they're not going to share everything, but, you know, so you don't know what they're doing. So that's a little scary. So, you know, it was scary, but at the same time, I thought that, you know, Jeremiah and I did a well enough job that our children weren't going to go crazy. But what can you share with students or parents about the social aspect of college and how they can help their child manage that?
Well, definitely don't let the social scene deter from your studies, because if you worry too much about, you know, if you're popping or if you go to the most parties or you go out most of the time, you're going to end up leaving. You're not going to be there anymore.
Right.
So
Right.
you need to keep the grades up for sure, because that's what's really keeping you there. That's why you're there. So I would definitely say don't let the social scene deter you from what the main mission really is, to get good grades and graduate and get that job. And also, I would say, when you're in college is where you start building your career, for real. Like, that's where you start building your career. So you really have to think about building yourself on the social scene with your peers as well as with potential employers
Right.
and people in different networks and publications. In my case, you know, publications, like different places. You want to build up your social scene, not just among your peers, because you want that. You definitely want that, because they are going to move on and eventually get
Right.
jobs that you know you want.
Right.
But you have to build that relationship with adults too. You're on your way to adulthood, so you really need to be mature and think about the relationships that you're making and be careful with certain people, because sometimes people, you know, like, they can be stank and unprofessional.
Right.
So just be careful about who you link yourself with.
Good point.
And have fun. Definitely, yeah, you can have fun. I mean, it's college. You can have fun.
Right.
But just don't go crazy. And I know a lot of the times the people that I see, the kids that I see go crazy are the ones with the strictest parents.
Okay.
They're the ones that are the most wild. So,
Right. They get out and they just go crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I definitely am happy about how my parents raised me, because they gave me that freedom. And now that I'm in college, you know, I'm chill. Like, I don't need to, like, go and down, like, a whole bottle of vodka in order to have fun. Like, I don't need all that. Like,
Right.
so that's also another thing.
So one of the last thing that I kind of want to touch upon, because I think it's so awesome, and it really does connect with the social, you know, your social circle, and being involved and engaged, you know, in campus life or in college life, and building those connections. You said building connections with adults, but also with, you know, with individuals. So Maya is an editor for Black Affiliated, and we have to rep Black Affiliated,
Black
because it
Affiliated.
is an awesome blog. And I just want you to talk a little bit about, you know, it's not a Temple thing, but the individual who started it is a Temple, you know, person, and you met her at Temple. So just explain a little bit about how that kind of came to be, and your involvement in Black Affiliated, and why that you think is going to benefit you.
Well, this definitely goes back to what I was saying about in college, this is where you start building your professional career. Because Black Affiliate was founded by my friend and my roommate, Diamond Mumford. And she founded the blog, and she made me the editor, and she saw, you know, the work that I put into it. So now we have a whole team and everything like that. So I definitely think from help managing this blog and starting this, you know, this publication, you know, starting it definitely taught me like responsibility and what it takes to really make it in the industry, and eventually hopefully we'll start getting some income. But it's definitely teaching me how to another thing about, you know, juggling, how to manage school, and plus this, because once I get out of school I'll be able to do this and be more on top of it, because I'll have a little bit more free time while I'm job searching.
Right.
But
hopefully you won't have to job search too much.
Yeah. Listen, the goal is to be at Essence. But anyway.
Hashtag Essence.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely think that the blog, being with the blog, is teaching me how to be responsible.
What's the blog about?
The blog, it's a Philly-based blog because we are students at Temple and we're in Philly. That's where it's based. And it's about music, entertainment, culture, mainly music and entertainment. We cover different things. We cover Philly artists, and we consider ourselves trendsetters.
Nice.
We try to expose who's coming up.
Right. And how can people take a look at the blog?
Well, you can follow us on our Instagram. It's Black Affiliated, and you can also follow us on Twitter. It's also Black Affiliated. It's BLACKAPH. Sorry, it takes a little bit with spelling. HILLYTD on Twitter, and we're also on Facebook as well. And it's BLACKAPH. ILLYATED.
Right.
Check us out, guys.
Right. Thank you, because I'm so happy that it's saved in my search, because I would never be able to spell it. I'm a bad speller as it is in this, but it is such a great site. It really, really is. I mean, you know, I don't know all of the people that they feature, you know, Millie Mill, and I have no idea, little this,
God.
little that. I have no idea. But Little Young, right. I don't know the artist, but it is so well done. It's really like the look of it. I love the logo. I'm like obsessed with the logo. And they really keep it up to date. This is something that they're passionate about. They're looking for sponsors. It's just a fabulous site, and I'm so proud of the work that these young women are doing.
And I will also, just to chime in there, when you have to put work into the site, it shouldn't, if this is what you really want to do, that it should not feel like painstaking work. Like, it should feel like every time I write an article and I have something put out there and it's published and it's finished, I feel accomplished. I feel good about having an article out there. And the more I do, the more better I feel about myself and my career, which is how I know I'm passionate about writing. So if you're doing this and you don't, if it's just painful to do, then you probably shouldn't be doing it.
Right, and that goes for anything. So anything that you're planning on doing, you should be passionate about.
Yep.
Definitely. Is there anything that you can share with parents and students in reference to this journey that you've gone through in college, you know, from educationally?
Educationally?
Yeah, from now, you know, from high school till college, anything that you could just, for them to keep in mind. Words of wisdom.
Well, I can definitely say that the classes do get harder and harder, so kids expect to make an emotional phone call at least by sophomore year back to your parents, because you're going to need them and you're going to be feeling stressed for sure. So definitely expect the classes. Enjoy your freshman year, because that's going to be the easiest year, and as you move on, like, I didn't expect college to be as emotionally grueling as I did.
I remember saying that, yeah.
So be prepared for that, and be prepared to feel like you're going to have a breakdown more than once, but you will get through it. And you will overcome.
Yeah,
definitely.
Definitely.
Yes.
So I want to thank my special guest, my sweetheart, Miss Maya Jones, for joining us today. I also want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Nancy Vargas Johnson, expert realtor. If you're looking for a home or you're planning on selling a home, you can reach out to her. And I also want to, just again, encourage everyone to follow or subscribe to my YouTube channel, Deli Teach, DELITACH, and also buy The Parent Agent. You can go to my website, deliteach.com, and you can order The Parent Agent there. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and remember, in the words of Maya Angelou, when you learn, teach, and when you get, give. Have a good one.